Welcome to the Unapologetic Man Podcast, the only podcast that's all about self-improvement, confidence, success, women, and being a man without making any apologies for it.
What is up, you champions? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the UMP. And today, gentlemen, I am going to give you advice for talking to girls. Why you shouldn't ask questions, but instead make statements. Now, that title was obviously put because I'm trying to optimize my SEO, search engine optimization, because what are people going to type in who've never heard of my podcast? Advice for talking to girls. I thought that was pretty clever. So if you're a first-time listener, I do appreciate you stopping by. One thing I try to do in this podcast is give the most actionable advice that you can use today. A lot of times when you listen to pickup artist coaches or other podcasts that talk about this stuff, it's very 10,000 foot perspective. They don't give you what to say, when to say it, actual lines you can use, actual techniques you can use. And that's what I try to do in this podcast. So if you enjoy this episode, go check out my other episodes because they are chock full of content. And not only in this podcast, but more importantly, in my 3-month coaching program, I give an absolute vault of things to say, conversational hacks, techniques, gambits, anything you could ever need to get a woman attracted to you. And I'm going to read a quick testimonial from my boy Gio before we jump into the content, which is really good content today. So make sure to stay tuned because I'm going to tell you advice for talking to girls. All right. Gio says, words cannot express how grateful and honored I am to have been part of this journey with you. Before this program, I had little confidence, and my anxiety of rejection with women dominated my emotions and logic. Now I find myself looking forward to meeting beautiful women wherever I go, and my anxiety of approaching is almost completely gone. I no longer see the world of dating as an intimidating and cold place, but as a challenge ripe with anticipation. I love that, Gio. I absolutely love that part. This has truly been one of the best investments I have ever made. Thank you for being the candle holder for those still wandering in the dark. Your friend, Gio. Gio, I really appreciate that. And I love that, brother. Being a candle holder for those still wandering in the dark. If you, brother, yes, you listening, if you feel like you're still wandering in the dark with women, not getting the results that you want, you can come into the program just as Gio did and get those kind of results where he's happy with anticipation to go talk to girls. He feels like he could get any girl attracted to him on command because that's the power that I'm able to give you. And one of the techniques that I teach is don't ask girls questions, instead make statements. One of the biggest problems with guys who come into my program, and this is a problem that they themselves admit, is they don't know what to talk about with women when they first get into set. And oftentimes, as I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate, you go into what I call interview mode. You just start interviewing her with stupid questions like, where are you from? Where'd you go to school? What do you like to do? And there's no real spice there. There's nothing to get her into her emotions. We have to understand that women's attraction is based on emotions. Attraction is not a logical thing. You can't show a woman your resume and all the great accomplishments you've had and convince her logically to date you. No, it has to be an emotional choice. This too is why women will say they want one thing and then go hook up with a guy who's completely different. Because that guy who she hooked up with, despite what logically she may think about him, engaged her emotions. Engaging a woman's emotions is literally the most important thing when trying to get her attracted to you. So oftentimes guys go in asking questions. And what's asking questions? It's telegraphing a lot of interest, isn't it? It's telegraphing that perhaps you're a little bit needy. It's making her feel like she's under a microscope and she's in an interview for a job. It makes her feel like she's under pressure. So if we can eliminate the bevy of questions that a lot of guys ask to women, then we will get more success with women. Now, obviously, you have to ask questions here and there, and a lot of questions are good questions. I'm not hating on questions as a whole, but if we can do something a little bit different with, let's say, 40% of our questions, then she's going to get a lot more attracted to us, especially when it comes to making statements rather than asking questions. What's making statements? It's telling her how she is. It's assuming certain things about her. It's saying that you have a knowing about her or a feeling about her. It's just making a statement and or making a guess And most importantly, cold reading her, which I'm going to get into. Very powerful stuff. So to begin with, when you're talking to a girl and you want to ask her, for example, where she's from, which is one of the most typical questions, instead of saying, where are you from? You simply guess. You say, so, hey, I'm going to guess where you're from. I think you're from Japan, aren't you? And it's a total white girl who's clearly from like Iowa or Nebraska or something like that. And it kind of cracks her up a little bit. So when you guess where she's from, instead of asking, where are you from? You say, I have a feeling about you. You're from Colombia, aren't you? And it's some Asian chick who's probably Japanese or Chinese. It kind of makes her laugh. It's not like, oh my God, I want to jump in the air and slide onto his dick, but it's better than just, where are you from? Because here's how most conversations go with dudes, and I listen to them all the time in the nightclubs. I literally eavesdrop on these guys. And quick thing that's kind of funny is when somebody's speaking in the nightclub, you can literally back up to them, and your ear is literally 6 inches from their ear, and you could hear everything she's saying and everything that he's saying. And that's how I used to do it. When I would take my guys out into nightclubs and bars, I'd just stand there with my back to them and just eavesdrop. Well, what are most people talking about? They're saying, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Iowa. Oh, that's cool. Did you like eat a lot of corn growing up? Yeah, there was a lot of corn around. Oh, that's cool. So what do you do for fun nowadays? I really like swimming. Oh yeah, swimming's fun. That's cool. That's cool. So hey, can I please have your phone number? No, I'm sorry, I have a boyfriend, but hey, it was great to meet you. And she walks off. Now, obviously, that's an extreme example, but guys, I straight up hear conversations like this, not with my clients, of course, but when I eavesdrop on dudes who I don't know or just guys I'm kind of curious about, that's literally the conversation they have. So if he said instead something funny like, what do you do for fun? Let me guess, you are a backflip expert, aren't you? Or let me guess, you're excellent at sleeping, aren't you? You seem like you could put down a couple good hours of sleep, don't you? Now, again, it's not like, oh my God, I'm so attracted to him, but it's slightly different. Now, instead of making a joke, you could just make a legit guess and say, so hey, where are you from? Let me guess. You kind of have an accent. I'm going to guess Boston, definitely East Coast. And she's like, no, it's not Boston. It's whatever, Pennsylvania, but you were close. At least it's better than just, where are you from? Some deadpan ass question that doesn't elicit any emotions. If you can make observations about her, where she's from, what she likes to do, her energy, certain knowings that you have about her, which I'm going to get into in a second, this adds a lot more spice than just asking some mundane, boring ass question. Where are you from? How old are you? Where'd you go to college? Now, some of the sound bites I like to use, and you guys may want to take notes on this. It's not super important. You can kind of just get the gist of what I'm saying, but some of the typical sound bites I use are, you seem like. So you seem like the kind of person, or you seem like the kind of girl who. For example, you seem like the kind of girl who doesn't frequent nightclubs like this. You seem a little bit different, like you're more into health and more into fitness, and you kind of don't strike me as a girl that drinks a lot. Now, funny enough, even when you do get a club girl, she's going to agree and be like, oh yeah, all those other bitches are club girls and I'm not. But when you say you seem like the kind of girl who, or what I like to actually say is you seem like the kind of person who, because to me, like focusing on the fact that she's a girl, and this is so subtle and it's so stupid, just my own opinion, kind of puts the vibe that I'm hitting on her. Whereas when you say person, you're doing what you should be doing, which is I'm just getting to know you. If it's not you, I'll go talk to a guy. If I don't talk to that guy, I'll go talk to that girl. It doesn't matter. I'm just a social person. So I like to say, you seem like the kind of person who, you look like the kind of person who. One of the great things I like to say is, I have a feeling about you. This is so powerful, boys. Steal this. So if you're talking to a girl and you run out of things to talk about, you can literally throw this soundbite in, and it goes like this. So Sarah, as I'm sitting here talking to you, I just kind of get a feeling about you. Do you mind if I throw it out there? Do you mind if I make a little prediction? And she'll be like, oh yeah, for sure. And then you just do what's called a cold read. A cold read is making an assumption about her. And the best cold reads are, of course, somewhat complimentary. If you're all ripped and I make a cold read about you, or I say something like, brother, I get a psychic knowing about you. In a past life, I'm pretty sure you were a warrior, bro. And this is what psychics do. They just fucking tell you what you want to hear. Dude comes in without a neck, completely jacked on the fucking gear, taking steroids, has to turn sideways just to walk through the door. And he sits down and he's like, oh, what was my past life? And she's like, I'm getting a feeling about you here. I think that you were probably a Spartan warrior and you fought in the Battle of Thermopylae. And he's like, oh, I did? Yeah, that totally makes sense. He's gonna fucking agree with what he wants to hear. So you get some super hippy dippy chick who's playing the harp at the drum circle. She's got so much hair in her armpits, it looks like she's got an afro dude in a headlock. You obviously talk about how she's spiritual, how she's connected to the earth. You say, I have a feeling about you. You like to dodge soap, you like to hug trees, and your freaking 1970s muff is gonna go the second I take off your panties. Is that right? And she's like, oh yeah, you totally know me. All jokes aside, boys, you obviously do a cold read about her saying, hey, I have a feeling about you. It seems to me that you really take the environment seriously. It seems like you care about animals. I don't know. I'm just getting this vibe. Is that true? Of course, a hippy dippy chick is going to be caring about animals. Of course, she cares about the environment. Of course, she eats granola and puts dirt in her dreadlocks before she goes to bed at night. These are all obvious assumptions you can make that you should be throwing out there. You should be assuming things, having feelings about girls, making statements about them. Now, deeper into cold reading is you tell her one side of her is one way, the other side of her is the other way. And the best one I like to use is nice girl outside. She's really agreeable. She's feminine. She's easy to talk to. Bad girl inside. She's not to be messed with. For example, if a guy broke her best friend's heart, she would go kick his ass. And you say, wouldn't you? So you say something like, you know, Kelly, as I'm sitting here talking to you, I kind of get a feeling about you. In fact, I'm going to go as far as to say it's a knowing. I know how you are. Are you curious? And then she says, yeah, what is it? You'd be like, you sure you want to know? Which is a technique called building intrigue. I do this all the time, not only in conversation, but also over texting. You say, sure you want to know? You sure you can handle it? I don't want to fluff your ego too much, fluff your feathers too much. She's like, no, I can handle it. You'd be like, well, as I'm talking to you, you're really kind, you're really generous, you just seem like a good person, you're super feminine, but I just get a feeling that deep inside you're not to be fucked with. Like if someone broke your best friend's heart or like stole her car or something, you would just kick his ass because you defend your girls. You don't take any shit. When the stuff pops off, you're there to get your friends back, aren't you? Of course she's going to agree with it, bro. That's akin to a dude who has a Misfit shirt on with a freaking mohawk into punk rock, and the psychic says, in a past life, I feel like you are the leader of a revolution. He'll be like, yeah, dude, because I'm a rebel, right? He's going to agree with it. So you kind of tell girls what they want to hear. Be careful with the compliments, but it's always phrased in those statements. You seem like, you look like, I have a feeling about you. You are this way. You just straight tell her, you are this way. I bet you hate XYZ thing, don't you? For example, you know, as I'm talking to you, I just kind of get a feeling about you. I bet you hate losing, don't you? You're really competitive, aren't you? And this comes from a soundbite that you observed earlier in the conversation where she said she went to a really good college and she was on a tennis scholarship, let's say. To get a tennis scholarship, you obviously have to be really competitive. So you make the note like a detective, you're filing away little pieces of information, and then later in the conversation, you toss it back at her. This also goes into mirroring what she says, parroting back to her what she says. So she says, for example, yesterday we went to the beach, and you say, beach? That's it. You just parrot back what she says with a question mark. It is a question, but it's in the form of mirroring, which obviously gets a lot of rapport. When people are in rapport with each other, you'll see they'll use the same language. They'll have the same body language, really pay attention to that one, and they'll use the same words back and forth. I went to a Dungeons and Dragons convention. Dungeons and Dragons is dope. So dope, bro. The convention was awesome. Man, last time I went to a convention, it was awesome too. Conventions are the best, bro. Yeah, I love to paint my little Dungeons and Dragons action figures and set them out on my desk, and it brings me a lot of fulfillment. Hey, listen, one of my friends does that, and I actually respect him because he's really good at it. But playing Dungeons and Dragons and painting up your little warriors, I can't relate, bro. I can't relate. But hey, more power to you if that's what you're into. And bro, if she's wearing a Dungeons and Dragons trench coat with a Slayer shirt on, You can have a feeling about her. I have a feeling about you. You really like Mark Sing's Lift Heavy Ass Weights playlist on Spotify, don't you? And she's like, oh my God, you totally know me. And that's what we want her to think, boys. You know me. You understand me. You're not like these other guys who ask me interview questions trying to get to know me more. They just know me. And this is one of the most powerful statements I have made to so many girls is I have a knowing about you. One of the things that I do, and this is for you to decide if you want to steal this. A lot of you, it won't resonate with you. But one of the things I do is I tell girls that I'm very psychic. Why do I tell girls that? Because, bro, I'm very fucking psychic. I swear on everything holy that I am psychic. I have some crazy psychic abilities. I know what's going to happen. I fucking call people right before they're about to text me. Marissa and I, we can literally talk to each other telepathically. It's fucking crazy. So, dude, I fully believe I'm psychic. I also fully believe that each of you guys has psychic abilities too. Judge me if you want to. Honestly, I don't give a shit. This is what I believe. So because I believe it so wholeheartedly, I will tell girls that. I'll be like, yo, I meditate every single day. I believe it's unlocked some crazy psychic shit within me, and I have a knowing about you. And then what you do is you tell her about some part of her future. Now, in my case, I'm usually not bullshitting. I just know. I just have a knowing about them. And yes, some of you can relate to this, where you just know something. And I tell her what that is. And oftentimes, I'll paint the picture to be really good. If I have a knowing about her that she's going to get unceremoniously launched out of a catapult into the Atlantic Ocean, I'm not going to say it. But if I have a knowing about her that her and I in a couple weeks are going to be driving in a Mercedes-Benz through the mountains of Colorado, and then we're going to go get some awesome steaks at this cool steak place in Pine, Colorado in the deep wilderness, I'll tell her about that saying, I have a knowing about you. Or if you guys are in good rapport, I have a knowing about us. Now, be careful, boys. Always stick within my rule of 80-100. You only want to give her 80% of the 100% she's giving you. So you don't want to talk about too much future unless she's already talking about future, unless she's already sprung on you. Then if you have a knowing about her, even if, yes, you have to make it up, because I know a lot of you guys are going to bullshit your way through this, just say something that she wants to hear. Okay, for that hippie chick, just be like, dude, I have a knowing about you. Just a feeling in my head. I feel like you're going to lead the drum circle. In fact, I think you're going to lead the biggest drum circle ever to happen at Burning Man. I don't know. I just see you up there. It's crazy. Maybe you're not leading it, but you're definitely in that drum circle, Sarah. And the BO wafting out of that drum circle is absolutely amazing. The patchouli that you can smell, it's like music to my nose. And she's like, oh my God, this guy knows me. I want to reveal my 1970s muff and fuck the shit out of him. And meanwhile, when that thing comes out, it smells like a burnt taco that was shit on by a sumo wrestler and then pissed on by a dog with rabies, bro. Here's what my friend's dad told me once. And I know I'm getting really crude, but I don't give a shit. He's like, son, if you can't eat it, don't fuck it. And I was like, this is really good advice. I'm going to stick to that for sure. But anyway, gentlemen, all jokes aside, tell girls how they are. Make assumptions about them. Make statements about them. Rather than asking a question, where are you from? Where'd you go to college? Just guess. Just be like, where'd you go to college? You look like a Notre Dame kind of girl. Is that true? And she's like, no, I went to da-da-da-da-da. At least it's better than, where'd you go to college? Oh, that's cool. And then using my techniques in the program, how to build attraction, gambit, stuff like that. When she tells you what she does for a living, a lot of you guys should know how to turn that into a joke and then how to get her into her emotions, how to get her to ask you the same question. You tell a joke, you tell the real thing, then you tell a story about how you became what you became, persevering through some adversity, and now we're getting attraction. So what we do is we mix up all these techniques. We put them all together, stitching them together into a kind of quilt in the conversation. That's just attraction spike after attraction spike. This is how you get girls attracted to you. Gone are the days of asking interview questions. Gone are the days of being needy with your conversation, wanting to know more about her, trying to see if you guys are compatible. Jesus Christ, that's another podcast I should do. I've done it in the past, but like breaking rapport rather than trying to build rapport like, oh, you went to Notre Dame? I went there too. High five. Terrible, boys. So using all these techniques, including making statements rather than asking questions, is paramount to getting girls attracted to you. Again, if you're a new listener here, go check out all my episodes because I give absolute gold in this podcast. Admittedly, it's only a fraction of what I give to my guys in the coaching program. But if you're just starting out, it's a good thing to go check it out. See just how much I can add to your repertoire of how to talk to girls, or I should say advice for talking to girls. So searchable, so many new listeners. I appreciate you listening, gentlemen. And for the rest of you, if you've heard enough of my content, you're like, yeah, this dude knows what he's talking about. I see the results he gets for guys like Gio, who literally said, it's been one of the best investments I have ever made. If you're now convinced, all you have to do is click the link in the description below, fill out the quick application. You and I are going to talk, see if it's a good fit. I'm not pushy outside of simply expecting for you to reply to my emails within 24 hours. And if it's a good fit, get ready, brothers. This is a 10-magnet production facility. Attracting girls on command, I could give you that power. Why you haven't signed up yet, I don't get it, but hopefully you'll sign up soon. Gentlemen, I draw a podcast on Mondays and Thursdays. As a final note, I am doing a podcast about how women want you to read their mind, and that's dropping on Monday. So make sure to stay tuned for that one because it's going to play into a little bit what we talked about today. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to read women's minds. This is really powerful stuff. So stay tuned for that one, and I will see you in the next episode.